In this video, we are going to be working on our ticket journal, and it is, I do believe, day 3. I don't know, it's a day that ends in Y, okay? Sometimes it's the letter Y, and sometimes it's the word Y. But so I've been running around trying to find I have a coffee stain stencil, and I cannot find it for the life of me. It's not in any of my normal little stick it here spots. It's not in my needs to be put away spot. You know, it's not where it's put away. Do you ever have a day like that where you know you have it and you just saw it like a few days ago and now you can't find it? I'm like crying. I'm like, I know I have it. Where'd it go? I just saw it. I went through the stamp bin. I went through my stencil bin. I went through my whole shelf that has all my like accoutrements, you know, and I'm just, okay. So now I got to focus on what we're doing today. And that is, we're going to be deconstructing a book or two to use in our journal. And I have so many deconstructed books already, but this one is bigger than my average book. So I have a couple of reference books. And then, what is this? This is an accounting book that's a little bit bigger too. So, oh, what are you doing down here? You need to go back in your bin. Okay. So I have a bin that I keep all my Velcro tabs in, but that's not it. Well, we'll just put it over in this bin because that's the bin where we normally keep our wandering ones. I'm beside myself that I can't find this stupid stencil. I mean, it's not stupid. I love it. Maybe I stuck it in here. No, I don't see it. I'll find it. And when I do find it, we'll be good. So this book already has, this one is 1959. So this is one that we can't use for any digital reproduction because it's still under copyright. But the book is broken, and I will be happy to tear that book apart. And this is Webster's American Biographies. So I think this is like one of those ones where they talk about different people. Yeah, James Gordon Bennett. But it has really just, you know, kind of boring text, but so we can take these pages and do a lot of cool things with them. And then a thesaurus. So this one is 1976. So this is a vintage book, but I love these pages because they have the little notchy things cut out of them. I think that's fun. So I'm going to show you how I go about doing these, and we might only get time to do one, but we'll see how sometimes books come apart really easily, and sometimes they're stubborn as hell. So what I've got, this is an automatic pop back cutting knife, box cutter. So sometimes, and you're gonna be like, oh, but Tish, you're ruining a perfectly good book. All this stuff is available on the internet now. And you can get these for about a nickel at any garage sale. And so I don't have a problem cutting these. So, and most of my books are already falling apart, but this one is not. So I cut off the back page. You can do you. And I just sit here and score it over and over again. And no, I did not cut myself. This Band-Aid is because I had a hangnail. So I just run my blade and score it down, and then I'll flip it over and score it down. And I just score the paper because I don't want to cut the spine or the spine jacket. Now, if you don't care about having the spine, then go ahead and cut to your heart's content. But I want to keep it just in case I decide to use it. There are a handful of books that I've gotten where the spine is completely destroyed. So again, we're just going to score this. And this is a ceramic blade. And I just score, give a gentle pull, score some more. And I just take my time doing this. I'm not in a hurry. And sometimes there's glue underneath there because, especially in the more modern books, they stitched and glued and glued and stitched, because especially for like reference books that we're going to be getting heavy use, they wanted to make sure they didn't fall apart. There we go. Now, got one side done. Let's do the other side. Now this side is usually easier because then you can take something wide, like a screwdriver, and hold it in place, and then you can just score along this side. So just put that back down in there. There we go. Okay, flip it over. Doo-doo-doo. There we go. Not the straightest cut I've ever made in my life, but good enough. All right, so we've separated the cover. We still have the spine cover intact. And this is ready to make a book out of, or whatever we decide we're going to do with that. So I'm going to set that aside because this is what we're after. So what I usually do is I come in and I try and see if the headband will come off, because if the headband comes off, which sometimes requires a tool, I have a needle nose pliers right here handy, and I just kind of pull on it firmly, but not like crazy. There we go. So now we can kind of see where all the signatures are at. And we'll do that with the bottom headband or top headband. go. Now I keep all the headbands because they're fun little tags that you can make out of them. Now we're glued. Let's see if we're stitched. So I'm going to find the center of one of these signatures. And it does not look like we are stitched. Let's try one down here. It looks like we are just glued. So oh, no, we're stitched too. Okay, this makes life a little more challenging. So I'm going to take and I'm going to fold it back on itself at one of its weak spots. And the trick to ripping these is to not just try and pull it apart, but pull one up and one down. Nope. All right. Now we've got this bookbinding tape off there, so that helps. It'll make life a little bit easier. Oh, okay. Needle nose pliers is not going to work the way we want it to. It's too much and too much of a space. So again, I'm pulling towards me so it makes it a little easier. I save these little bits, not the paper part, but the netting part, because that's kind of fun. I have a whole little container, like a Gladware container, little plastic container that has all these book bits in them. So I'll put them in a pile. And there we go. And then the paper just goes in the recycling bin. So now that we have two separate bits, let's put one bit to the side because we're not going to do all the pages today. I'd like to try and keep as much of it together as possible. Because I sat down one day last year, actually it was a series of days, and just deconstructed books. And now I have all these loose pages everywhere, which is fine. I got them in bags and they're fine. But it makes it a little bit harder to organize. So, okay, again, one up, one down. Like we'll hold one down and push down and push up. There we go. So now we've got eyewitness. All right. Put this one down there. Thankfully, the garage is below me and no one else is. So up and down. So you're pulling this one down, you know, and then pulling this one up. So let's see what we got here. We got one more we can do. So I'm pulling between the signatures. So, and this is just glued together, but I wanted to see, let's see if we can get the center here. So it looks like, let's get her. This isn't exactly a bone folder. It's used for sewing, but it works. All right, well, this isn't going to be as neat as I thought it was going to be. because these are injected glued or whatever. They inject the glue in there and it makes it look like sewn in. But it's not, it's glue. So we're going to take this middle piece out very, very carefully. And it helps if you just see, they injected the glue in there instead of stitching. So they rip, which is fine because you can still use these, you know, however you want. This is why I always try to go for stitched books versus glued books. This is why modern books aren't as fun to take apart. They're actually quite frustrating. So what we can do is see if I can get these to pull apart like so. So let's do it this way. I'm afraid. Yep. So these all have to be individual pages. But they've got the cool ripped edge on them. So I'm going to embrace it. But this one here might be okay to use. Okay, so yeah. So what they do sometimes, I mean, it's funny how different publishers do different ways of doing this. So I'm just going to put all this together. Did this stay one piece? Because what I was willing to do, hey, it did stay one piece. Groovy. So we've got 1, 2, 3. So I thought it'd be kind of cool if we brayer this down, maybe come back in and kind of pull some of this glue out. You know, or even just leave it there and then make this part of the signature just like this. Maybe. Nope, it's starting to rip. Okay. Well, that shoots that plan. I'm still going to use these pages. We'll just use them as individual pages. So, because sometimes even when they're glued, you can gently pull them apart and they don't rip. This one ripped, and it's okay. He was stubborn and didn't want to go. So let's see. I think this other Webster's dictionary thing, this Webster's reference book, is also going to be glued. So we're gonna see. We take our, just basically repeat what we did before. And just, this one's coming apart really nice. There we go. Section A is done. Let's go on to section B. definitely smells like an old book. Which I adore. I love the smell of old books. Alright, let's just cut this right here. Yeah, this one came apart nice. So I think this one is a little older, for one. We got the cover still on there, so we could put some kind of cover here and then put something on the spine if we wanted to, or we can leave it just like this and put a new book in it. It is all up to you. There are no rules in mixed media. You do you, boo. All right, let's see if we can get this headband off. And there is a little bit of glue here. So I'm going to use my, there we go. Use my needle nose pliers. You can use just a regular pliers too. I just use the needle nose pliers for a lot of different things. So put a headband there. And headband there, and I'll clean them up later. Now let's see where we're at here. See if we can find the end of a signature. Kind of halfway through. There we go. And then move this stuff out of the way. I'm going to get a drink of water real quick. Hold on. All right, let's go at this. And we're going to pull down and pull up. Maybe. There we go. Sometimes it's just the getting it started part that's the hard part. Again, we have the book tape, but this stuff is really fragile on this one. So we'll still keep it because they're fun. They're fun to use in like clusters and stuff. So this one is definitely sewn. You can see the stitching right there. So one of the things you can do is just take your knife and come in between. There we go. Like that. And get it started. And what actually works really well for this, I mean, it is sewing after all, is a seam ripper. So take a seam ripper and just go after these bindings. There we go. Sometimes, once you get a couple, you can just poop them apart, but this one wants to rip. So there we go. Let's and you don't want to use a cheap seam ripper for this because you will end up stabbing yourself with it. Don't ask me how I know. You can, but I'll plead the fifth. All right, so we got the bottom. There we go. And now we can go in and pull out each individual signature. So I just find the signature end, and you can kind of tell where they're at. And you just pull them apart. And then you find the middle. Let's put that there. Let's put this over here. These are going to be fun. Oh, there we go. So find the middle, which is right here. And if there's seams and if there's strings in here, you just pull them out. Sometimes you get them, they rip through, which is fine. And then take the middle page. And there we go. Got a solid page. Now you're going to want to put paper tape or washi tape if you're going to use these two together like that. Or the other way to be a little bit more gentle with it, see, now we have all these individual that we can use in our signature as one sheet of paper. This is why I like the sewn bindings so much better. And I will show you how you can do it so they don't rip. And you don't necessarily need to put washi tape. I still do. Now these ones are starting to be more and more ripped, but we can still separate them into individual sheets of paper. There we go. Oops, see, this one's starting to rip, which is fine. Because the glue gets, when you get closer, this is the kind of the cover page of the signature. And when you get to there, the glue that was glued, that kept the bookbinding tape down, you've got it all like right here. So, but you've got all these cool individual pages or sheets that you can now use in your journal as this is one sheet of paper. And so it's already folded in half, so you know you're already good. And it's already going with the grain, so it's going to be, once you put that tape in there, you kind of bind up the holes a little bit, or seal the holes a little bit. You'll have a very strong page, unless the book is, the paper itself, like the whole book, is very fragile. Okay, so now what I do, I'm going to get this last signature here, and I'm going to go on a quest for the center page of it. I've got glue on my fingers, so this makes it a little bit of a challenge. Now you've got the middle of the pages. I can tell because there's a piece of string right there. And then you can go in with your seam ripper like that, very gently, and just break those strings. And then what I do is once they're broken, these ones are already broken, then I'll take my pliers and give them a gentle tug, and they'll come out. Sometimes. Sometimes my pliers is not cooperating. There we go. That one just broke, which is fine. I used a lot of glue on this book. Sometimes they pull right out, like you're pulling out a seam to like a hem, like you're lowering a hem on something, and they just come out like a basting stitch or a hem stitch, whatever they're called. I don't know. I'm not a seamstress. And then you can take your middle page like this, and then just gently pull it out like that. And you still have holes in it, so you still, you know, probably want to reinforce it at least with a little washi tape or bookbinding, you know, not bookbinding tape, packaging tape or something. I got the hiccups again. But then now they just come out really super neat. And this is the way I do it usually, so I can get, especially when I'm doing like a periodical or reference book. I don't know why I said periodical. A reference book like this. That way I can get an O page and a B page and have like different sections of the book in different signatures. So they're cohesive but different. And then I usually, this is the last page of the signature, I usually just leave it alone and then go to the next one and do with the stitches and then pull them out. And then at the end of it, I'll just take and I'll just slice it down the edge. That way all the glue is off and I don't have to worry about it. So there's those. Excuse my sniffles. So we've got that book. We got some of those pages done. Now let's go to this book. For books and Irwin Series Accounting, boring, 1959. Now I can tell you this is already coming apart. So this should be really easy. I'm going to take and just score down the page here. There we go. And then do the same thing here. Look, what do we got in here? This is Accounting Assignment Sheet, Spring 1962. Very cool. So we're going to put that over there. I might put that in some ephemera for this book. Oh, there's another one. What is this? What's this stuff? Oh. Subtract half a point from final average for each homework problem not turned in over 3. 3 late equals 1 missing. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so we got some authentic 1960s tape here. I'm going to be very careful with this. There we go. And then we're going to take this whole page out of the book. There we go. And I will scan these and we'll have them as part of the ephemera for this book. So again, we got a cool cover that's nice and vintagey already. Let's take off the, I got this at our Lions thrift store here in Elgin. I just made a donation there today, this last weekend, of some old clothes that I don't want anymore because they're polyester, and polyester and heat are not nice together. So let's see what we got for this accounting book and see if we can get, because our book is 9 3/4 by 7 1/8. So this is 9. You know, we're going to take this off too. I think we've got the first few signatures just wanting to come out. So we're going to take our seam ripper here and just go along where the seams are at. See, beautiful. And then we're going to take, there we go. Look at that crinkle edge. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, more ephemera to go in the book. So that came out really nice and easy. But what I wanted to do is see excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah, so it's 9 3/4, so we still have, it'll be perfect for pages inside, and it's 6. So it'll be perfect for pages inside that are slightly smaller than our other pages. Excuse me and my sniffles. Texas allergies are no joke. And take off the headband there and the headband here. Hopefully, yeah, we got some of the paper, which is cool. Now we're going to find the end of a signature. I need to drink a coffee because that's pretty dusty. So here we go, between these two pages. Hang on. Come in. There we go. Oh, maybe that one. Yeah, they. Oh, between these two pages. This is kind of cool because it's got all the numbers and cool stuff in it. Yeah. Okay, so I'll rub this down like this. Give us some room to work. All right, so one up, one down. Well, golly gee willikers, that came right off. And we're gonna just gently pull this off. There we go. Ooh, more collage fodder, or cluster fodder. See, now that's so cool. You can see where they have, like, this is this section, this is that section. I like tearing, it's kind of like an archaeological dig. It's like, okay, how was this book put together? Because there's so many ways to put a book together. And let's see, this one wants to come apart right here. I just kind of go where they want it, where they're already like, we don't like the rest of the book. So there we go. Look, someone underlined. Oh, this is so cool. This book is so cool. So we're gonna put that with this one. And these ones will all go in a bag. I have these heavy duty plastic bags. These ones will all go in a bag, like each book. And then that way when I wanna use more of it, I can. All right, we've got 4 signatures here. So let's do find the middle. There's the middle, I think. Yep, because there's the strings. We'll take our seam ripper. And I just kind of come under, whoop, maybe not. Well, that was tomfoolery trickery. There was a string there sticking out. There we go. Now we're good. I think. Yep, there's all the strings. So we're just going to take and gently put our seam ripper underneath and break the string. Maybe. There we go. Cut it, break it. There we go. And then, where's my sort quick? There we go. This stuff is amazing. And it doesn't leave your pages all greasy. So take page 1, gently pull, and there we go. See, the holes are really tiny on this one. You could probably get away with not putting tape on it. I'm going to because I want to, and we'll just use some washi tape on them. So there's one. Okay, so now we're going to find the next signature because we're at the first and last page. There we go. And we're going to open that up really good. Take our seam ripper and very gently break the strings. Not so much gently because we're afraid of breaking the strings, but because this is a sharp point and you don't want to rip your paper. I mean, if you don't care, you can just go in there like a toddler after cookies, you know. Okay, get some sort quick on my fingers. Nope, that one wanted to rip, which is fine. Still put it in the pile. Okay, so I think that's the center page of that signature, or outside pages. I got 2 more here. I'm gonna get a drink of coffee real quick, or water, or whatever I got in my cup. Whatever cup's nearest. Hold on one moment. All right, so now I'll go in here with seam ripper again. That one's really tucked in there. There we go. Well, that's kind of cool. Federal tax return pages haven't changed all that much. Okay, that's the last page, I think. Nope, one more. All right, now we got one last signature in here in this section of the book. these ones would pull out nice and neat with the now I'm going to take this. This is where this is kind of like the empty shell part of it. So it's got this glue all along it. I'm going to take these and move them out of the way because we can utilize these sheets as full sheets. And I do have these available. Just mail me at contacttheartisthaven.org and we can work it out. Because at markets I usually charge $5 for 50 sheets, so 50 full-page sheets. But because I'd have to ship them to you, we'd work out something. Because you can see it's not just me going in and just, you know, it's not an easy task. It does take some muscle. It does take some time. And I do pay for these books usually, whether it's $2. I never pay more than $5 for a book. Let's see. We want... Okay, that's not what was supposed to happen. There we go. So now we're going to take this cutter, move the water, the alcohol, there we go. And we're just going to line this up with the edge, get them as straight as possible. Cut that edge off, and that way this glue part can go in the bin, and we have nice pages ready to go. We can either tape them together or we can use them in a tab binding, or use them for ephemera, or whatever we decide we were going to do with them. So I'm going to put these with that book. And now that we have some pages and we know we can put in pages, let's talk about, this is our back cover. I went and I sprayed it. I haven't inked it yet. I wanted it to be completely dry because I did this morning. Last night was kind of I'm going to zone out in front of the TV and cut stuff up. And this one, I think this turned out really cool. So this is the start to our cover. And I'm going to do another layer of matte medium over the top of it. Once this is fully dry, it's still cold. So it's dry to the touch, but it's still cold. So that means it hasn't dried all the way through. So we've got that so far. And I did ink around the edges and that sort of thing. But we're going to take, I've been using the Liquitex matte medium on this. I need to get like a gallon of that stuff. I wish I could get the the collage medium by the gallon, the Tim Holtz stuff, but I can't. So I love how the chipping kind of came over on the tickets. I was really starting to stress about it. I'm like, you know what? Just embrace it. Embrace the wonkiness. I think Louise Heinzel has a video about embracing the wonky. Okay, so now it's the time to figure out how big of a spine we want. And I'm thinking at least 2 inches because I want it's because he's so big compared to all the books that I have. This is one of the bigger books that I had. I want to make him really like chunkifiable. Like, can you imagine this being an alligator mouth? He'd be like ginormous. Because I'm not going to put a closure on here because we got all this cool stuff going on. It's just going to be a regular journal without a closure. I mean, you can tie a ribbon around it if you want. And I might do that just for presentation's sake, but it won't be a permanent closure. And I'm thinking, what's this? This is, I won't use this piece because this is all wrinkly. Yeah, here we go. But this will help give us a visualization. This is 2.5. So yeah. 2.5 is perfect. And then we can do 5 signatures in there. And it can just be this like travel fun book. Okay, so we're going to do 2.5 for the spine. And then we have to remember we're going to leave about 1/8 of an inch on either side. So it'll be almost 3 inches for the spine. And we are going to do a hidden spine on this. So this piece can be used for that. Maybe. I don't like how I like how wrinkly it is for like clusters, but not for what I need to do. So let's do this. Let's get our spine ready, our inner spine, our outer spine, and our inner spine, and then that way we can start planning our signatures and getting that done while this does its cure. And then I'm going to ink this and then hit it with matte medium. And so I'm just going to ink around the edges like I did here. So it's kind of, I was looking for the coffee stain, and I'm going to find it. I will find it, and I'm going to put a coffee stain right here, or, you know, coffee cup thing. Even if I have to go downstairs and get a coffee cup and set it on there and spray coffee around it and let it do its thing, you know, it's going to happen. That's why I haven't that's why I haven't matte mediumed it yet. But it's still, even though I put the matte medium on here, it still has a really cool texture. The crackle was starting to fall off on the red. It was sticking really nice to the black. So the black gesso. So next time, we learned something here. So next time I'll put a clear gesso down on the fabric. So it stays on there. I'm thinking I might put some splatters on here. I might actually put some kind of dangly thing on here, like right here, and hang some keys from it. I don't know. We'll see. I have all these ideas in my head. All right, let's work on the spine real quick because we've got about a half an hour before we need to wrap up this live stream. So let's work on the stuff that we can work on. Let's see here. Excuse my sniffles. I've got, I wonder if these will work. Because I've got a bunch of these strips that I cut off of. I wonder if they're long enough. They should be. Well, maybe not, because these are only 9 if I remember correctly. Yep, we need 9 3/4. But the 9 will work. Nope, it won't work. All right. These are all little bits. Yep. Not for this project, ma'am. Let's see what we got. So I've got a couple of blank pieces. You know what? We're going to grab a pizza box. I've got all kinds of pizza boxes. Sorry about the fan there. Okay, so the inner one I want to be slightly smaller than the outer one. So we're talking spines here. Let me find the edge of this. There we go. So we can go. What we're going to do is we're going to fold this up like so. And then it should fit in Fanny. So we can cut there we go. We can cut this off. There we go. Whew. And then now it'll fit, so we can cut this off. Actually, it's easier for me to pull towards me, so I'm going to reset that. There's that. Flip it over. Oh, let's reset that up there. There we go. Now these, the ones that have glue on them, I put in, like these two, I will put in, and this one's broken up, so these will go in to be made into paper clay. And then these ones will set aside and we can make bits of ephemera with those. So let's put those over there, and these go over here somewhere. There we go. I have a stack of them because my bin that I usually put them in is way on the other side of the studio. So, okay. Now, what size is this after we cut it apart? Hopefully it's long enough. Oh yeah, it's almost 11. So let's, and if you haven't had this Motor City pizza, it is actually really good for a frozen pizza. Yeah, just saying. And I'm picky, I'm very picky. So we're gonna cut this at, you know what, let's, okay, so if we do 3, I'm gonna look at my ruler real quick. If we do 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, we can do 5 signatures, 1/2 inch apart. That'll give us a lot of room for a lot of pages and a lot of pockets and envelopes, and because this one I'm just going to load it up. So let's do 3. I'm going to do a little bit over 3 so we can make this perfectly straight. There we go. And there we go. And then we're going to take and go, we're going to go 9 3/4. Because that is the height of our book. I wonder, is this? Nope. So we're going to do another one at 3. There, that one's straighter now. And another one at 3. Okay, so that's going to be the outside spine. I'll make this just a little bit bigger because that line has a little warble to it. Let's see how this one turned out. Okay, so put this in our scrap bin because we can use that for other stuff later. I have stuff falling out of my scrap bin. If you saw my scrap bin, you would know why. It is cup runneth over. Okay, that's the one that's warbly, so let's line this up and give it a little trim. There we go. Did I cut that at 3? No. What did I cut that at? Okay, well, I'll just give it another trim-a-rooney. There we go. And then these ones, we're going to cut at, so I want about 1/4 inch at the top and the bottom. So we're going to cut it at 9 1/4. 9 1/4. And 9 1/4. And you know what else we're going to do? Actually, we can make our what do you call it? Template right here on the inside parts. So let's cut these. Actually, we're going to nine 3/4. 9 3/4. All right, we're all done with our cutting for now. go. Now I'm going to flip these over. Like so. And I'm going to take, somewhere I have a sanding block. There we go. And I'm just going to hit these just to knock some of the gloss off. There we go. I think this says fine and medium. I'm using the medium, which is probably 120. And I think the fine is 220. Yeah, that's the fine side. I can tell by just running my finger across it. Okay, those three. I'm going to take a rag here. I'm going to spray a little bit of rubbing alcohol on the rag, and then I'll just wipe that off. Allow that to dry. There we go. Do these two. This is the coarser side. All right, now I need a drink because my mouth tastes dusty. So give me one moment. Okay, now we're going to take a sponge brush wherever he went. There he is. He needs to be dried off. So he's still damp, and we're going to use the pH neutral PVA glue in the middle, maybe. There is something clogging the tip. There we go. Much better. Okay. And we're going to put glue on either side. Now we're going to use a sponge brush to smooth it out. And get it to the edge. That. And we'll put it down a little bit more. And smooth that out. So there's that. We're going to line these two up like so. And once we get it lined up, we're going to clamp it together. And that's why I went with the PVA glue, is because it gives us time to wiggle it. So clamp it down and then proceed to lay it down. And because we spread out the glue, we have very little glue on our hands. If glue bothers you on your hands, wear gloves. Just remember you're washable and you can go wash your hands after this part. And I'm just going to take the brayer. You could take a rag and just burnish it with a rag. Hang on, I'll show you. So you can just take this and just rub it, give it firm pressure as evenly as possible. And it also helps to wipe off any excess glue. So I'm going to get that off of there. And give it one more press with the brayer. So make sure it's all glued down. There we go. We did really good with lining up our edges and making it straight. I think the one piece, this back piece, was a little bit longer than the other one. Just that like fraction, like blade width. So it's not going to make a difference in the end. Okay, before we go any further, we are going to take, whoop, and put this back up on top where it belongs. Go. We're going to take our pencil and we're going to write inner top. Okay. So this will actually go where we're going to put the fabric, and then we'll put a T right here because we're going to have the fabric fold over. So that'll make it a little bit different because we're going to probably cover that inner top. But that way we know that this is 3 inches. Nope. 3 inches by 9 1/4. Yep, perfect. So we're going to let this dry for a moment. Actually, we're going to let it dry overnight. If you want to, you could put it between parchment and put a heavy book on it so it stays straight. That's what I'll end up doing after I glue all these together. So we're going to put that to the side for a moment. And now these ones, I'm going to put these two together, or these two together, and then put this one on the 2. It just makes it a little bit easier for the brain. Instead of trying to do all 3 together at the same time, it gets to be a bit much. All right, so I'm only going to put glue on 2, so that way I remind myself that I'm only doing 2 at a time, because otherwise I will try and go gangbusters and do it all, because I am that person. There we go. Spread it out. You can use a chip brush for this. You can use an adhesive brush for this. You can use your finger if you don't have any brushes. There we go. We want it as even as possible. So we don't have any dry spots. That's why we put it on both sides though, is that way there are no dry spots. Oop. All right, let's put that down. We're going to meet these 2 in the middle. Again, we're going to line this up. I got some glue on my thumb, which is fine. And then I'll clamp it. And just going to wipe that excess glue off. There we go. And then we're just going to run our hands down the sides. Just like that. And just kind of gently push them together. And then just make sure that we are together. And then we're just going to firmly, slowly press. We have some excess glue there. So let's wipe that off. There we go. You don't have to use a cloth rig like I do. Oh, we had some glue on our brayer. It's okay. You can use a paper towel. You can use a shop towel. You can use whatever your heart desires. You can use a dry baby wipe. It doesn't matter. Okay, now that we got that, let's get that extra dot of glue out of the way. Excuse me. I think I need another sip of water. Okay. Now, if you have a glue mat like I do, you probably should be using it. But apparently, I'm going solo with this. Okay, so let's make sure all the edges, so I just go through and make sure that there is white between all these edges and there's no gaps. If there's a gap, I just squeeze it. And usually it fills in the void. Okay, now we're going to put these two together. We're going to put glue on this side and glue on this side. Yeah. So there's already a little bit of stickiness right there. And again here. It's a deep dish pizza. We have this every week. We have game night. We actually play board games. It's awesome. So we have 2 gaming nights each week just because it's time for us to unwind. I'm not a TV watcher, so I watch more YouTube than I do anything else. If I'm real, I watch a lot of live streams. I may not be in the chat, but I watch a lot of live streams. Because tagging in, and I hope that's something that they're supposed to be doing this huge YouTube announcement on the 16th, I think, is what Roberto said. Okay, so got that nice and even. All right, so there we go. I'll put that right there. Take this, I'm going to put it on this, same way we did the last one. So we should have a nice heavy duty spine. No wonder my tummy's grumbling, it's lunchtime. And this is why I try to stay at an hour and a half, is because I go live at 10:30. An hour and a half puts me right at noon. So I can go eat my lunch. Because I only eat from noon till 6, sometimes 7. So I do the intermittent fasting because it helps me not binge eat, because I am a bulimic. Have been all my life. So if I tell myself I can only eat between noon and 6 or 7, then when I get the overthinksies at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, or when I'm laying at bed at 3 a.m., because when I overthink, then I want to overeat. I want to binge because my brain wants to put everything in perspective right at that moment, and it's not possible. Okay, I'm going to grab my glue mat here. There we go. What happened to you? Why are you full of paper. Let's see. That side's better. Okay. You can actually hear it gluing together. There we go. And I use the excess glue to kind of sharpen the edges. Like fill in the gaps. All right. Now we're going to get a piece of parchment. Give me one moment. Okay. Now we're going to take, I'm going to put this one here, like that. This one here, like that. I'm going to roll it up, like that. And then we're going to take, I need something heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Should I let you into one of my secret hobbies? I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to astronomy and astrology because I like mixing a little woo-woo with my science. So I have this big book that one of my friends gave to me. It's Love Signs in You. I used to have a whole bunch more astrology books that were old, that were like really, really old. So we're going to put that there. Actually, you know what? We're going to move that over here on the other table. I gotta shuffle some things around. I gotta put labels on these inks so I can put them away. There we go. Wait a minute. Did I look here? Hold on. Hold on. Maybe I found... Nope. Darn it. I got all excited. Okay. I will find that coffee stain. I will find it if it's the last thing I do. All right. So I'm going to move this over here and let it sit over here. And I'm going to let it sit for the next, I don't know, 4 hours or so. All right, I think we got everything covered. I'm waiting for the cover to dry so I can put another coat on that. I am going to go on a quest for the whatchamadinger, I can't even think, the coffee stain stencil. I'm going to get a piece of press and seal for this sponge brush because I'll probably be using this glue again. On another project that I am working on. So this will help keep it from getting crusty. There we go. So we still need to finish the cover art and start assembling things, but we've got to wait for things to dry. So I will see you tomorrow in the next live stream, or you, if you're watching the replay of this by chance, you can just click on tomorrow's live stream and watch that replay too. Remember, be kind to one another. Peace, love, and happiness.